Kevin?
Sully, how are you today?
Pretty good, man. We're trying to get to spring here. It's up to 44 degrees now, so we're getting there. Slow and steady.
I give it, I think we get through one more week, and then we should be home free. So,
Then it'll be 85.
It's always like this.
Yep.
It is absolutely no surprise. It's always like this year in and year out. So we get used to it. Everything will get done. It just, it'll just jam in the course of a couple of weeks instead of being spread out a little bit more. That's all.
Little bit tough to get a read so far. We were only about maybe 3, 4, 5 games in for a lot of these teams. What's your impression so far of the high school baseball season?
Well, to be honest with you, there's some teams that haven't even played a game yet. So, it's hard. In the first week, you just kind of go out and maybe just see what's going on a little bit. And Gloucester Catholic, the preseason number 1 in the Courier-Post in the rankings, hasn't played a game yet. I believe they'll open up on Monday.
Really? Wow.
But you look at a team like Eastern, which we have at number 2. Going into the week, and highly regarded in the state. They're off to they lost a game to Washington Township, another team we have in the rankings that could make some noise, but it's way too early to be wrapped up in a lot of things. Teams are still kind of getting their pitching situation worked out and still trying to really just kind of adjust to being outside. Everybody's been inside for so much of the first month of practices that to get outside and finally, be able to swing the bats and really, try to hit the ball into the gaps and things like that, So it's going to take some time, but I think, once we get through this, I think this upcoming week will be like Mike McGarry told you, that, the upcoming week will tell you a little bit about some teams. I think it's going to be some decent games on the schedule. So, we just got to, we give it a week or two, and then I think things will start to kind of fall into place.
Yeah, I guess one of the big stories so far this year is the new pitch count rules, and in different ways than you might think. I was at Ocean City Holy Spirit last week, and it was an interesting game in that Holy Spirit had an 8-0 lead in the 5th inning, and they bunted with 2 guys on to get them into scoring position to try to get that 10-run rule to save some pitching. And one of the Ocean City fans on the way out was like, "Oh, that's Bush League. That's not baseball." But they don't understand that the coaches now are under a lot of pressure to get to that 10-run lead, end a game in 5 innings if you can, and that might save your pitcher a whole day if you can limit the number of pitches.
That's absolutely true. On the surface, as a fan, you would look at that, and that's probably the same reaction I would have on the surface if I really didn't think about it. But these pitching rules, I've been at it. I was at a couple of games this week when we did get some games in, and these coaches, it's kind of an added thing they have to worry about. You cannot blow that off. In the past, a kid stepped on the hill, it was an inning, okay, and it's easy to mark down an inning. But now you've got to keep track of exactly how many pitches are being thrown.
Right.
You've got to cross-check. You've got to cross-check with the other team's dugout, make sure they have the same number. There's supposed to be a independent person also keeping track of pitches for the home team. So you have actually 3 different people keeping track, just in case one of them maybe misses a pitch here or there, which I can understand it could happen from time to time.
Sure, yeah.
Everybody's only human, hitting a clicker, and not everybody is using an iPad to keep track of the game. But every inning, these coaches have got to double check on the pitch count. It's to the best of my knowledge, when these teams report their scores to the state each day, they're supposed to register also the number of pitches these kids are throwing. So basically, the pitch count should be public information. I don't know whether coaches have done that every day yet or not. I just don't know. But you've got to keep track. And to be quite honest with you, you're right. You don't want you're up 8-0 in the 5th, and you're dominating a game, and you've got runners in scoring position. You're really not trying to show up the other team at this point. Mm-hmm. You can save a kid. You can save a kid for a game you may have 3 days from now that you need him. And if he throws I don't know, for sake of argument, 5 more pitches. Well, he can't pitch that day. He can pitch the day after. So you really have to keep track, and it's it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays itself out, because I think we talked about it last week that the teams that have arms, the teams that have pitching depth, are at a huge advantage, and those teams that don't have enough arms could ultimately pay the price in one game or 2 games that may cost them a chance at a playoff spot, at a higher seed. You never know how that's going to play itself out. But I think definitely the pitching rule, the pitch count is going to have a big influence on a lot of baseball games this year.
Yeah, it was interesting talking to Coach Steve Normain of Holy Spirit after that game, and he was basically telling me, he's like, look, Sully, I'm a baseball purist. You know me. He's played high-level high school, high-level college at Rutgers, so he knows kind of the unwritten rules of baseball that you don't show a team up when you're winning 8-0. But he said, look, I got to think of it as if we get these 2 runs, my starting pitcher's at 48 pitches right now. I don't have to send him out for the 6th and burn another day. So, I mean, obviously, I understand his thinking. But you can see from a fan's perspective, why is this team trying to run it up on us when we're up 8-0?
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think a lot of fans are going to probably see this more times than they have in the past, and as much as some parents that are at an age where that would be a no-no. Are going to have to come to the understanding that the team is we'd rather beat your team 8-0 and end the game right now, but if we can get those 2 more runs and save our guy, that's going to only benefit our team down the road. So going to have to take a look at that and see how that all plays itself out. It's
definitely a tough pill to swallow for the baseball purists that's maybe in their 40s or 50s, some of these dads who are used to the game being played a certain way and those unwritten rules, and now they kind of got to understand that it's a different playing field. Yeah,
it's just like I said, it's just the way it is this year. It's going to be it's going to present different types of scenarios, and hopefully it doesn't come down to a situation like that, and where that comes in. It may here and there, but for the most part, I think I think it's going to be it's going to happen from time to time, but I don't think it'll be something that'll be too overwhelming.
So what else is on the agenda here the next week or so? I guess a lot of these teams will be going away for spring break, right?
You got spring break, for a lot of school districts this week. You got senior trips. The kids, some teams are still on, some are on now. That's the quote unquote beauty of the spring. And I think once we get past this week, when Easter week and that we will be done. Hopefully, we'll be done with the spring breaks. We'll be done with the senior trips, and we're going to have baseball games every day. There's going to be a full schedule of games every day, probably except on a Sunday, but we're going to have games, and there's going to be really good matchups on a daily basis. So if you're a South Jersey baseball fan, not only will your team be playing some good games, but there's going to be other good games out there that could ultimately influence where your team will ultimately fall in place.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see how these new rules affect, late April, early May, when you start getting these 3 and 4 games a week. So it's going to, like you said, it's really going to test teams on their depth and how well they've done in the offseason to prepare their pitching staffs.
Yeah, you're going to have kids in there who may not be ready to pitch at the varsity level, and I think you're going to see some games. If that does transpire, you might see some games where the final score is going to be 14-8 or 12-6 instead of a 3-2 or like a 5-3 game. So it's going to test everybody, and these coaches knew it was coming, so they'll be set, and we'll see how everybody handles it.
Good stuff as always, Kevin. We're up against the break. Got to let you go, but enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll catch up with you next week, bud.
All right, anytime. We appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Take it easy.
That was Kevin Minnick of the Courier-Post.